event marketing series. I am very excited to have Ryan Costello here. He's the CEO of Event Farm. You might recognize it from our logo. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us from the other coast.
Hey, Alexandra, how are you? It's good to talk to my friend and colleague bright and early on Thursday morning.
Absolutely. Yep. Definitely bright and early on the West Coast, about lunchtime here. But, you know, I'd probably give up some of the humidity here in order to have some of that nice weather that we experienced in Santa Monica a few weeks ago. So just jumping right into it, what have you seen as, you've been in the industry for a long time, what have you seen as the biggest shift in the events industry over the past, say, 8 years?
Yeah, and I'm going to speak from the lens of like an event producer, not as a technologist. I think that the biggest thing is like the tools that we have, allowing us to really, that sounds a little businessy, but I just think I went to 2 events last night in LA, and I go to events all the time, and I'm trying to measure and think about how they're being effective and all these kind of things. And I think the biggest shift is that as event marketers, we finally have tools to actually try to engage attendees in new ways, in really meaningful ways, and then we can actually measure that. So you take an event that happened maybe 5 years ago, 8 years ago, and you think about what was possible. Well, what was possible was that we could tell you, at the end of the day, if we had to report to a CMO or whatever, we would tell you that, we had 350-ish people there, and they all smiled. And that's kind of what we could tell you. And then, a couple years later, you get to, social media comes out and you get Facebook and okay, cool. Well, 350 people came and 20 people took pictures and 20 people liked them. So now it's like, oh, yeah, it is working. We're doing some stuff. And then today, it's like, wow, we have a lot of tools that can really measure engagement and effectiveness and reach and ultimately ROI. So I know that sounds businessy, but that's like the biggest, in my eyes, the biggest change that's happened in the event marketing industry, because all the other stuff that's changing is just different ways to present the material or the content. But ultimately, the effectiveness, if you're talking about the business of event marketing, what has changed, in my eyes, is the tools and the that we have to actually measure how effective we're being as event marketers.
So you use the word ROI. How do you feel about using that when we talk about events? Does that make it too black and white and not covering some of the other aspects of it, or do you think that that's something that's actually important as an event marketer?
I mean, to be very candid and honest, as an event planner, I feel scared. I feel like, how am I supposed to possibly do this? I don't know how to measure ROI. My job is to get people there and inspire them. And I got a lot of logistics to worry about. I got to get the caterer. I got to get people there. I got to worry about parking and traffic, whatever, all the things that happen with events. And then all the while you want me to do that you spin up this magical moment or experience for a night or a day. And then you also want me to run like a business engine to monitor, analytics on this. It's scary, right? Because I don't know. What if it doesn't generate ROI? And I don't even know how to measure the ROI. So I think scared is the first question that event planners will feel when they hear that question. But to the contrary, I think everybody that I've talked to, and certainly when I do it, like, we'll give you another example. Event Farm is throwing a launch party a week from Friday here in Los Angeles, opening up our new office. We are absolutely doing this event for a reason, right? We're trying to get ROI. Now we have a dual purpose goal, which is actually good. I think we want to sell software, but we also want to recruit talent. We want to recruit people. So we have a dual purpose goal, but I can absolutely measure that. If I get candidates who drop resumes or talk to me at the event and say, hey, this is a really cool place, I want to work here, I can measure ROI. I think when you're talking about ROI from a marketing standpoint and how that drives sales, that's a larger question, right? Did Alexandra coming to the Event Farm launch party, did she spend more money with Event Farm? Well, there's a lot of different, back to the tools part of this conversation earlier. There are tools now that can help us track that. But I think first and foremost, I think event planners and producers and event marketers, if you will, they feel scared about the ROI, but they know it's important. So I don't feel like it's a topic that is, we should ignore. I think we should absolutely, talk about it, discuss it, because it's ultimately as event marketers. I had a great conversation with Tom Spano on this series where he was talking about the ROI is the defensible number to get more budget, right? if you can prove to me that I spend $1, every $1 I spend at an event, I get 2 out, we're going to be doing a ton more events. Right. So it's the same metrics that anybody should use in any marketing tactic or sales tactic. So ROI is critically important.
So you hit on in there a couple of good things about kind of the technologies and softwares and tools that event professionals need. What do you see as those key pieces of technology or key softwares that every company or event technology professional needs to have in order to be successful in 2015?
I think software is only, it's a tool. Okay, it's not the answer, right? There's no magic button in anybody's software that gets everybody there, gets them to buy your product and leave smiling. There's no button like that. So it's just a tool, it's a canvas. And I think technologies, and this is what we do at Event Farm, is try to provide the canvas, try to provide tools that allow event marketers to use the canvas the way they want. So in my eyes, technology should be malleable. It should be adaptable. It can't be one size fits all. It can't be templatized. It can't be automated. You know, the words that you would think software would be. But if you're talking about engagement, right, that's what we're talking about here as an event marketers. If you're talking about engagement, human beings don't want templates. Human beings don't want cookie cutter. They don't want the same, right? That's why they're humans. That's why we can read between the lines here. So in my eyes, event marketers need a tool set that allows them to be creative. It allows them to be authentic. It allows them to be, you know, and those things translate into customizable, you know, adaptable, those words. But ultimately, it's allowing them to be authentic and truly creating an engaging experience. And that comes from every piece of the puzzle, whether it's an invitation, whether it's a way that you thank people, whether they engage in an event in a certain way with a photo booth, whatever it is, everything's got to be authentic. And the tools that I think are most malleable are the ones that are most effective for event marketers.
So you talked a little bit about experiences, and I know that that's one thing that you know, in previous conversations have talked about the in-event experience. How is that going to look in the future? So talk a little bit more about what inspired you to create Hover, which is our experiential marketing platform, and where you see that going for the in-event.
So Hover is an extension of a very basic thought that when I produce events and when I think good event marketers produce events, we're all doing the same thing. We want you to wake up tomorrow morning and you want you to tell your friend or your colleague, hey, I saw this. This was last night, this thing happened. The talk. What are they going to talk about tomorrow? Okay. And they're not going to talk about, oh, hey, Alexandra, I ran into, you know, Sam last night. It was awesome to see him. That's not what they're going to say, right? That's so, there's nothing there. What you're going to say is, oh my God, I engaged with this unbelievable technology, and man, this company is doing some really cool things. Did you know that that's what we're all shooting for. That's what Hover is trying to do. Hover is trying to be the wow, be the talk, and again, back to those human engaging philosophies and undertones that we just talked about. It's using technology to do that. It's to create that wow, and it's to create that really rich, engaging experience that people are left, you know, scratching their heads saying, wow, you really just changed the way I looked at this company or this brand or this product. And, you know, and that's what we're trying to do with events. So that's the essence of Hover, and we're trying to do it in ways that are authentic. We're trying to do it in ways that are opt-in, right? So the premise of a Hover experience is that someone proactively does an action, right? Whether it's using NFC or tapping a screen or whatever it is. Like we're Bluetooth, right? That's kind of getting in dangerous territory. Bluetooth technology is monitoring people. No one wants to be monitored. No, not authentic, not human, right? We want to be like, I want this, give it to me. Awesome, that was great, thank you, company. Now I get a better experience. So those are the basic premises of Hover and what inspires me. And then, you know, where Hover is going is it's where our clients and everyone takes it, right? Get back to that white canvas idea, right? It's a malleable technology that can be adapted to fit any environment and any brand, culture, company, product. And we're just trying to make sure that it's that authentic engagement that's real and human.
So why though does that experiential marketing, why does that matter to a business? You know, trying to sell it to a CFO, it's like, this is expensive. You know, why do we need this?
Yeah, great question. It's like, I think that you would back, if that's the question that a CFO would ask, you'd actually go back. Why events, right? So I think it's back to that premise. Like if I believe that I can get $2 of sales out of $1 of event spend, okay, if we believe in that premise, then we're on the right track. Okay, if you're questioning whether or not a technology to help engage and further brand and analyze data is actually of value, then you're actually asking a different question. You're asking, why are we doing events at all? And that's certainly a question that we should talk about. But I think when you ask human beings about that, they're going to all say the same answer. They're going to say, well, what do you mean? Of course events are important. Human interaction can't be replaced by videos or emails or things like that. It's just a different level of engagement, and it's a much more rich relationship with your audience and your consumer. So assuming that we talked to CFO out of, okay, you're right, let's go down the event path. Then the question is, okay, so now tell me why we're going to buy this technology or spend money on technology. I think that you play devil's advocate. It's like, okay, so you mean to tell me you'd prefer that I throw an event for 500 people? So you agreed to that, we should spend the money on that. Okay, cool. So we're gonna throw the event for 500 people. And you think what we should possibly do is throw the event, have everybody come, and have no way of actually measuring their likes, dislikes, behavior, interests, how long they stay, where they went in the room, what topics they were interested in, right? These are just like devil advocate, questions. The CFO is gonna be like, no, of course, wait, we don't do that? That's what's gonna happen with the CFO. It's like, oh yeah, wait a minute, if we don't do this, we're just gonna have flowers and music and drinks and everyone's gonna leave. So that's, I think, really what the conversation happens when you're trying to justify spend or justify technology. It's kind of like, well, we've never had the tools before. So then 8 years ago, it was fine to say that. Now that we have the tools, you think we're not going to use them? That's where I think the conversation is today in most organizations.
So even taking it a step farther, what do you think about post-event? What will the future of that look like, and how will that be important?
Love post-event. Post-event is like where my brain is at. It's like, it started with, it's crazy. I don't know, I guess 4.5 years ago, we started Event Farm, and the word farm was meant to be a pun on technology. We didn't want a eventinvite.com. We wanted to be a human company. And it was like, initially it was a kind of a pun on tech. And then it was also about this experience sorry, not this experience, but this emotion of a farm, like growing a relationship, right? And I know it sounds a little bit cheesy, but that's really where my mind was at when the brand was being built. It was about, you're planting a seed with an event that's going to grow as a relationship over time. Then the analogy I use today is, when people leave your party or your event, it's not goodbye. It's actually, hello, we just started the conversation. We just got you, right? It's like we finally got connected. So post-event is everything. It's like, that's where we're working so hard to get to post-event. And that's really, at Event Farm, we've worked unbelievably hard to actually have the opportunity to start focusing our efforts and development resources on post-event. We had to do all the things that need pre and during, right? Those are critical elements of an event. But now that we've earned our right to be able to, work with clients that do, we solve those problems and do that, we're now able to have the conversation about post. So I see it as a start of a conversation. I see events, if you really break it down, what is an event? An event is a communication platform. Wow, that's a crazy thought, right? I get people in a room for 4 hours and I get to talk to them. If you actually break that down, it's a communication platform. So that's really what I think we're talking about here, is like, post-event is the turning on of the communication platform. So they come to an event, they interact, they hear, we talk, we exchange ideas and data and all these things. And then, now that we have more information about you and we have a better context, oh, Alexandra, great that you're actually interested in naval history. Great. We're going to have a conversation more directed and more educated about the things that you're interested in. And that's really where I see this. So I think from a technology standpoint, you're going to see more and more technologies that are focused on post-event. We're certainly focused on it, incredibly inspired by it, and think that it's going to take a mentality shift in the event marketing space to realize that events aren't just events. Events are communication platforms.
You talked a little bit about data. So how do you see data in shaping event marketing? in the future?
We had a really interesting conversation about, I don't know, a year ago at Event Farm with some of our developers, and one of them said, I had this wow moment where I was like, oh, this is so cool. And the developer, who is, very introverted and not typically excited by these kind of things, just said, data is sexy. And I was like, whoa, that's an awesome thought. And I just started to think about that more. And so I'm getting a little bit high level on your question, but things like tickers, right? The stock ticker. Why are humans so into that? We love seeing that, right? We love seeing counters, 5, 7, 10, 25. We love data, right? And New Year's Eve, 10, 9, 8. Like, we love organization. Our brains think this way, all right? So first and foremost, I think data can be used as an entertainment tool. And we do that a lot with Hover, where we do visualizations. It's so interesting. And when a human being can contribute to the data and also see it, then that's the home run, right? So if I get to do something and get to see that my thing changed that thing, that's really, really fun. That's where the invent of social media walls came from, right? You tweet and you get to see your name on the wall. Whoa, that's so cool. How'd that work? So I think, the first part of data is that it's not scary. It's actually entertainment. Human beings like it, and it actually can be used as an entertainment tactic. So from an event marketing standpoint, that's cool. I think what you were actually asking, though, is like, how does the business analyze the data and, kind of relate to the ROI, and how do we extract data that's relevant for our business out of an event? And that's the second piece. It starts with understanding what you don't know. That is 100% the first thing you need to ask. And we ask our clients all the time, what don't you know that you want to know? And they're like, what? We know everybody's email address. And that's where it starts, right? So, okay, do you know your gender profile? Do you know your age demographic? Do you know geographic locations, where people live, where they went to school? Do those things matter to you? So you got to ask what you're trying to answer from a data standpoint, and then have technology to be able to get that answer. And that goes to what we were talking about earlier, right? The white canvas, malleable technology that can create an engaging way to actually extract those answers. So I think the first step is knowing what you don't know. The second step is actually creating the technology to get what you want out of it. And the third step is how do you put it back into your business engine to be able to use it to generate business, right? Whether that's putting it into a CRM so it drives sales behavior, or whether it's putting into the marketing engine to retarget and use different advertising and different marketing methods and tactics because of interest and personas that we're learning about certain behaviors. I think that's how I see it. And so ultimately, it's 100% the critical business behind events that is going to be the future, and incredibly important.
Final question for you today. Are there any companies or brands that you look at and you say, I'm pretty excited about what they're putting out on the event space? They're like really thinking the next step.
Great question. I think Delta comes to mind. I think Delta Airlines is doing a really cool job in experiential. Although I'll say one caveat. The thing that I'm struggling with the event marketing space is that brands are doing cool stuff. I can rattle off a ton of examples where I've been like, oh, wow, like a lot of wow is going on. I wonder, though, if a lot of affected behavior is happening. What I mean by that is, the point of experiential marketing is to take and represent a product, a company, or whatever you're trying to do experientially. So how can I possibly get the essence of a company or a product through a marketing effort, through an event? I think there's a lot of wow going on, but I wonder if it's actually getting the essence, right? So an example would be at South by Southwest, I think 2 years ago, Doritos did this massive, massive activation. They built a 3-story Dorito vending machine. I don't know if you've seen it. I mean, it's literally 3 stories. And the way you interacted with it was you tweeted and it spit out this digital Doritos bag. Massively cool, like big wow, huge wow. It was everybody in Austin was like, Jesus. But did that really get the essence of Doritos for me? I'm not sure. I didn't get to try the product. It was cool, right? And I get that, like, I get Doritos out of a vending machine, but is that what the brand really wanted to accomplish? So, wow, awesome. You guys get 2 thumbs up for being creative and digitally savvy. But again, did it really meet the objectives of experiential marketing and really drive me to want to go buy the product? That's the question that I think everybody needs to ask themselves.
Yeah. So how do you think they came up with that? If you were just kind of, spitballing, like, oh, did they just start with, I want to do something cool potentially? Or did they start with, here's what we want to accomplish, and then how are we going to do that?
Yeah, I think that's the problem. I think a lot of people start with the cool, right? Because you're thinking from the wow factor first, which I get is important because it's an event. You got to entertain. But I think really what the step they missed is like what are we missing? What are we trying to learn? They didn't ask that question. That's clear they didn't ask that question because there was no way for me to even tell them. I had no way to tell them if I liked Cool Ranch or spicy. I couldn't give them any information. All I could do was tweet at this thing and see it come out. So they really didn't understand. They didn't put that layer, and maybe that wasn't their objective. Maybe they were just trying to do that. So I'm not picking on Doritos, but I'm just giving an example of, how I would approach a situation like that, and understand that there was a missing layer there that was evident to me. So yeah, I think they forgot to ask themselves that critical question. Wait, why are we doing this? Which is always important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for the time today. I always appreciate your insights. I don't even have to say that. I don't think you would get mad at me if I said you were full of it. But thank you again. And I hope everyone enjoyed our series.
Thanks, Alexander. Great job putting this all together. Thanks so much.